Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the One-Up Superstar Series from Phoenix Raceway out in the desert of Arizona for the running of the Circle K 500 here in the beautiful desert hills of Arizona at this beautiful desert jewel, Phoenix Raceway. We're here for 94 laps around this flat 1-mile oval, and the stakes are pretty high because this is the last race before All-Star Week, so anything can happen and anything goes to try and lock yourself into that prestigious event. Alongside me in the booth today for today's race, however, is Ryan Griffin for today's race, and last year here, we saw Stephen Hunter cap off a three-peat of wins with his third in a row here at this very racetrack, but he's going to be starting mid-pack today, so any hopes of a repeat win here at Phoenix are going to have to come from pretty far back.
It should be a fun race, too. Phoenix, since its reconfiguration, has really proved to be, I'd say, somewhat of a difficult track because of the way that the dog leg is and the way you have to basically use the dog leg to kind of a lot of people use the dog leg to shortcut the track, and about keeping up your speed and not trying to be a victim here too. I mean, Phoenix, it may not be what your standard definition of a short track is, but Phoenix is a short track, and as we've seen in the past and all sorts of series that have raced at this track, you know, this is a short track, and it's going to be about survival today, honestly, I think.
And now we can look at the starting lineup for today's 94-lap race. It's a Robbers Racing front row lockout. We have Myles Mashburn with his first pole of the season. Alongside him, his teammate, J.D. Martin, in the 66. Robbers Racing looking to get their first win of the season with one of their two entries. Justin Hutchinson and William Brock make up row 2, and Jeffrey Finguy rounds out the top 5, with a few surprises filling out the rest of the top 10. Nelson Reeves, after a pole last week, qualified 8th. Devin Fair, a rookie, the highest qualifying rookie, he starts 9th. And then there are the drivers that were surprised starting further back in the field. We have Stephen Hunter, like I mentioned, he starts 21st. Cale Tescar Jr., the points leader, starts 24th. Jake McMillan, 29th. And a lot of these guys, they're going to have to work their way from the back to the front, and that's no easy task here at Phoenix, since track position is almost always key here.
Yeah, as I just stated, Phoenix having the short track characteristics, starting in the back, you got to use a little bit of patience. Granted, you don't want to tear your stuff up trying to get to the front, especially on a short track like this. And of course, I was in for Bristol too, so a lot of what I said for Bristol kind of works here for Phoenix. But with Phoenix, unlike Bristol, there's a lot more room to pass because we do have the dog leg. But at the same time, you don't want to go rolling through the field trying to get to the front. You got to save a little bit, but you don't want to take too long to get there because the leaders will be on your back door before you know it.
So with that being said, we have 94 laps ahead of our drivers today. The cars are lined up on the grid, and we are ready to bring you the action from the Circle K 500. This is the One-Up Superstar Series from Phoenix Raceway, and the green flag is mere moments away. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss a second of the heart-pounding action still to come. With Myles Mashburn and J.D. Martin completing a Robbers Racing Row 1, the field heads into the restart zone, and the green flag is in the air. The Circle K 500 is underway, and Myles Mashburn is off to a brilliant start in the 72. But he's got to be careful to hold off his teammate, who's now facing pressure from Justin Hutchinson on the inside. The blue and white number 10 making moves to move up into second as they head down the back straightaway for the first time.
Yeah, Hutchinson got a nice little run there on the inside. The inside's going to be kind of the preferred lane here to start off with, so you're going to see as Finguy moves into third, and already looks like Martin under fire there for fourth. It's like the inside is the preferred lane here early, and as the race goes, I still think the inside is going to be the best line, but we'll see if we can get a second groove as it goes. And I think we're going to have a battle for the lead here going in. Coming out of 4 here, coming back to the line.
That is the battle between Myles Mashburn and Justin Hutchinson for the lead, both looking for their first wins of the season. Mashburn looking for his first win since 2020 in Japan. So if there's anybody who'd love to get back to victory lane, it would be Myles Mashburn. But we still have over 90 laps of racing to go before we can crown a winner. And right now, as you saw J.D. Martin in the back make a really big dive to the bottom of the racetrack to start clawing back the positions he lost, he's now battling William Brock for 4th, but the top 3 are single file as we enter lap number 4.
I'll tell you something I'm kind of watching here. There's a couple of cars that I've seen that did it here early on, and I'm interested to see if it actually does anything as we go. They're running a little higher down in I guess you could say it's turn 2 and 3. They're running a little higher down there, coming around to the back straightaway in it. I'm trying to see if they can get a run on the guy in front of them, and I'm just interested to see if that's going to work at all for him. I see Mashburn is kind of using that line down here. I don't know if he's going to hold off Hutchinson. You know, Hutchinson really looks like he's got a good car, and he's going to take the lead here. They're going to try to pull Finn guy with him.
Yeah, Mashburn is doing everything he can to keep the lead on the high side. They're going to be side by side off through 3 and 4, and I think Mashburn's just going to barely hold on to lead this lap at the line. But Justin Hutchinson, I have a real feeling, is going to clear Mashburn for 1 and 2 this time, and will take the lead of this race on lap number 6. Have our first lead change of the afternoon early, and Justin Hutchinson trying to get his first win of the season.
There's Finn guy now working the inside, trying to, again, follow the 10 car, and we'll have to see if the trend continues, because this is the 4th race that I've been in the booth for. We'll see if we get a dominant driver today, and if the dominant driver can actually close the deal. I mean, it seems like these other 3 races that have been in the booth, the dominant guy has not been able to close the deal, and I hate it for him, but we'll see. Maybe Hutchinson can be the one today. Maybe it would be Finn guy, maybe it would be Mashburn. Who knows what we'll see today. Is again, Mashburn's still using that high lane. Hutchinson is now pulled away from these guys.
Yeah, Hutchinson now with a pretty sizable lead over this group. This is the biggest lead we've seen anybody have all race long, with Mashburn and Finn guy now battling it out side by side for the 2nd spot. J.D. Martin and William Brock running out the top 5 as things stand right now. Now going back up the leaderboard to see who is going to be leading at the end of this lap. Going to be Justin Hutchinson with a gap of about 0.4 of a second. The gap has stayed pretty much the same throughout this through the early stages here, but we now have a group of 3 back there battling for 2nd. It's Jeffrey Finn guy in a Robbers Racing sandwich, as it seems. Myles Mashburn on one end, J.D. Martin on the other. But Finn guy, I feel, has a really fast car under him. He was 2nd in practice, 5th in qualifying. Got a really fast car under him. Can he be the first to 3 wins this season?
It's like we also, well, just as I say that, Martin has a look inside Finn guy. I was going to say we were single file there for a second to about 7th or 8th, but Martin now looking on Finn guy, trying to see if he can get a run through this corner to take away the 3rd position. And it looks like he's going to be maybe side by side with him, but by the time they get to the line there. But right now, Hutchinson is just enjoying what he's got right now, just out in clean air, trying to dissect what he's got. Let his crew know what kind of car he's got at this point, and just trying to have I guess you could say, a Sunday drive at this point. Martin again still working on Finn guy, working the inside. I think he might be able to clear him off. He might be able to get the good run here off this corner to clear him. And it looks like this is going to be the interesting thing with this track is you watch the drivers use that dog leg. We call it the dog leg, but what it is, it's basically the more paved on the back straightaway, and it's not. It used to be grass back there, and it used to be flatter too. So the driver's going to try to duck down there, shortcut the track, and it can help you complete passes as it does for Martin. And now we got a battle for 6th?
5th place, the battle between Jared Polanski and William Brock. Polanski, of course, had that really big accident last time out at Denver. He seems to be all right with that, as we can see. He's now powered around William Brock to move up into the top 5 of this race. And it looks like he's going to take Nick Ortiz in the 91 with him. As Brock starts to fall back just a little bit. He started 4th. He's probably going to fall to 7th right here. But Still a strong run from the 93 as they run ahead, just ahead of Mark Davey in the 01 and Emma Carter in the 70. But back up front, Myles Mashburn has closed the gap to the leader by about a 10. I think he's just biding his time right now in the event that the 10 burns up a lot of his stuff too early in this race.
That's the thing. And now I think now I can actually say it, even though we may have. Yeah, it looks like we got a little battle going on there for fourth, but we were kind of single file again there. No, yeah, I guess we are single file there to about back, I think 7th or 8th back there, and at this point you're just trying to feel your stuff out. I mean, we're 15 laps into the race. Obviously, here's the tail end Charlie. We got one car already a lap down.
Yeah, I was going to report Henry Thomas had an issue on pit road to diagnose. Sounds like it's a mechanical issue with that number 8 car, but he is back on the track 1 lap down. Unfortunate for the Vento Motorsports number 8 team, but if attrition plays a heavy factor in this race, he could very much still salvage a decent day out of this race. But for now, Henry Thomas runs last, 1 lap off the pace, but the battle for the lead continues to be Justin Hutchinson by about 3 or 4 tenths over the Robbers Racing pair of Mashburn and Martin, 2nd and 3rd.
And pretty much the top 3 remains really the same since the drop of the green. The only order has changed among those top 3, but they remain still the top 3 as Finn Guy is like trailing there in 4th. And at this point, it's like I'm curious to see how this track develops and what these guys are able to do, because Phoenix, we know it's a short track. We know that they can pass, especially with the dog leg, but it'll be interesting to see what's the preferred line and who can maintain right out front. Right now, it appears to be Hutchinson, as the teammates look like they might duel here for 2nd.
Yeah, Martin must think he's got a faster car than his teammate and team owner, Myles Mashburn, in the 72, but they got to be careful about this, because if they battle for an extended period of time, that will just allow Justin Hutchinson to draw even further and further away from them and establish a commanding lead. So they can't focus on their inter-team battle too much, because the 10 will just pull away and just be an obstacle too great to overcome. But if they can settle their differences quickly enough in this race, then if Martin, say, is the faster of the 2, they can make a quick driver swap, and Martin can start chasing down Hutchinson himself. It'll be interesting to see what they decide to do, because now Martin's under fire from Jeffrey Finguy, who's clawed his way back up, and Nick Ortiz, who's gotten around Jared Polanski for 5th.
All 6 of these guys are really under a blanket. Hutchinson has a little bit of a gap to the Mashburn, but the other 5 behind him are like right close under a blanket here. And as we see, looks like Martin's gonna make another attempt at his teammate, but it seems like he makes a run and then he thinks better of it. Thinks better of it, rides, and almost loses the position and charges back again. It's almost like he's a yo-yo, I guess you could say.
It's interesting to see, because now Justin Hutchinson, due to the Robbers Racing infighting, has pulled out to about a 7/10 of a second lead now. And look at the gold and blue car of Nick Ortiz trying to get around Jeffrey Finguy for 4th. I think that 91 is just as good as his teammate who is leading the race. It's just a matter of getting around the Robbers Racing pair and making it a Finish Line Motorsports 1-2 instead.
Ortiz looks like he is going to firmly take 4th here for Finguy, so he's got the teammates to go through if he wants to get up there with his teammate, but he definitely looks like he has the hot rod to do it today.
Yeah, Nick Ortiz has not been to victory lane since North Wilkesboro last year, where, of course, he accomplished a Grand Slam victory. Only the 2nd time in one-up Superstar Series history that has happened. So Ortiz definitely knows how to win races on a lot of different track types, as now Finguy makes a deep dive under the 91 to try and take 4th back. And all of this is just allowing the cars ahead to pull away even further. And I think Ortiz is just going to be able to clear the 92 again and hold on to 4th for the time being. And we're already 25 laps into this race. Time flies when you're having a good time here at Phoenix Raceway. One person who's not having a good time I can see is Henry Thomas. That mechanical issue I mentioned earlier has just kept getting worse and worse, and just like that, his day is over on lap 25. It's an unfortunate break for the Venta Motorsports team, like I said, but they will be able to rebound, and they'll have to get that car ready for the All-Star Open in a few weeks' time to try and race into the main event. But their day is over here at Phoenix, as now Justin Hutchinson has an 0.8 of a second lead over Myles Mashburn, while teammate J.D. Martin is playing defense from a very hungry group of 3 behind him.
Yeah, it seems at least at this point that Hutchinson is out there on a Sunday drive, just enjoying the view and waving to his fans, because the battle right now is honestly basically from second back to, what is that, 6th place? Yeah, it is 6th place. So basically it's a battle between 2nd to 6th, where this group is just pretty much since like the last 10, 15 laps they've been going at it among each other for position, although they are starting to close a little. Looks like they might be starting to close a little back in on Hutchinson.
We'll find out once the scoring pylon updates itself once again. But at the front of the field, it continues to be Justin Hutchinson. But you're right, that gap did go down by a couple of tenths. So Mashburn and Martin have got to start working together, and it looks like they have started working together moderately well, trying to chase down Justin Hutchinson, who has led the most laps this season through the first 8 races, and this is only going to further boost his number in that particular stat. But right now, like you were right, it's 2nd through 5th under a blanket, and as a matter of fact, it looks like William Brock, Mark Davey, Emma Carter, 7th through 9th, they're starting to close back in on this group, but that may be more due to the field as a whole stringing out more than any one person having a major issue.
Yeah, I think that actually is probably why Mashburn and Martin were able to kind of reel in a little bit of the gap that Hutchinson had built. As they stopped fighting amongst themselves, they got single file, and they slowly started to cut the gap back. And now they're more on an even playing field. It looks like Hutchinson has stabilized the gap, so he's not losing it yet, he's not gaining it, so it looks like we're just kind of in a holding pattern here up front. Wow, he hit almost 3 wide there by the start-finish line. Finn guy Ortiz and Polanski going at it there for 4th.
Looks like it's settled out in favor of this side-by-side battle between Ortiz and Finn guy. I will maintain this 91 probably is a very good race car. It's just stuck battling with Finn Guy and Polanski when he thinks he could really do battle with his teammate out in the lead of this race. As now we actually have 3 finish line motorsports cars in the top 10, as Polanski made a deep dive into that corner, trying to take the 5th spot from Jeffrey Finn Guy. I think he might. But back to my original thought, we have 3 finish line motorsports Fords in the top 10. Hutchinson leading, Ortiz in 4th, and Mark Davey in that red car back there, back in the 8th spot, while the 4th driver in this group, Blair, has had a miserable weekend from the beginning and is running in the 30s. But now I think the Robbers Racing duo is starting to have a little more of a fight on their hands between each other, because I really think Martin is faster than his team owner, but he's just got to work the hard way to get back around it.
And I think it's a matter of they're trying to decide if they close on Hutchinson. Okay, it's like, we'll close on Hutchinson. Okay, we're not closing much, then let's battle between each other. That's what it almost seems like, is that if they know they can catch Hutchinson, if they know they're closing the gap, they'll stay single file. But if they're not catching Hutchinson, then they're like, okay, we'll battle for a little bit. Then they're like, okay, we'll see if we can reel them in for a little bit. And now they're in the battle phase, I guess you could say, as Martin now. I think Mashburn may get the run off this high side. No, they're pretty much even. It seems like the cars are pretty much even at this point. Neither line really has an advantage.
But if my guess is correct, I would think that J.D. Martin will eventually get the run on his teammate. He just sends it down into the corner much harder than the 72, and I think Martin will get clear of Mashburn here for the second position. Once they fully settle it between them, and I think they will coming out of turn 2 this time, now that Martin is clear of his teammate, what can the 66 do to chase down the 10 of Hutchinson? Because now the gap is almost a full second between Hutchinson and Martin. So now it's just a matter of, can Martin chase the gap back down, or is he going to have to be resigned to second place here for the rest of the day?
You see, that's what Hutchinson's trying to take advantage of. He knows his crew is on the radio to him, telling him, hey, Mashburn and Martin are fighting each other. Just go ahead, just maintain where you're at, and let them, basically drop behind you. And Hutchinson has pretty much done that since he took the lead, just trying to maintain where he's at. He's not letting them get too close, and he's just, as I said, just out there like a Sunday drive.
And right now, actually the gap just went down by a couple tenths. So I think Martin, now that he's ahead of Mashburn, is starting to reel in Hutchinson. But could that be more Hutchinson just conserving his equipment at this point in time? Because keep in mind, we still have a pit stop to make in this race, coming in about 20 to 25 laps time. So when that's all taken care of, that could shake up the order of this race in a big way, depending on how fast the pit crews get these guys in and out of the pits, and who comes in first, who decides to stay out longer, and who decides to come in early and take advantage of the fresh tires. Because there are advantages and disadvantages to both those strategies. Because if you pit early, you'll be on the new tires for longer, but you're running the risk of being trapped a lap down if a caution comes out. Meanwhile, if you stay out longer, you'll be on the old tires for longer and lose more time, but if you get that timely caution, we've seen it before, if you get that timely caution and trap a lot of your competition a lap down, that could be well worth it in and of itself. So, a lot of decisions these guys have to make atop the pit wall.
Yeah, and you talk about making that decision, you have to look no further than last race out in Denver and what we saw late in the race in Denver that ultimately played in a factor in who won that race. So when you pit and the circumstances surrounding when you pit can really make a difference as to whether you win or lose this race. And I may have spoken too soon about Hutchinson, because he is going to be under fire here if this continues from Martin, because Martin has reeled in that gap. He's closed it out basically about half he basically closed about half the gap that Hutchinson had, and he's still closing.
I have a feeling Martin might be the faster car of the two, but Hutchinson has the clean air on the nose of that Mustang, while Martin in the Camaro behind him has to deal with the turbulent air that Hutchinson is dumping off his spoiler onto the front end of the 66. Aerodynamics doesn't play too much of a factor on the shorter tracks, but it definitely will play a factor if you're trying to chase down the leading car. But Martin doesn't seem to care at all about the air.
I was just going to say, I don't think Aero is hurting that 66 at all. Martin is just definitely faster than the 10 at this point, and he is all over that rear bumper of Hutchinson now. And again, catching him is one thing, passing him is the other. And let's see if Martin can actually, we've seen people able to make passes, especially, it takes a minute to use the inside, but they have been able to make passes. The question is, can he make a pass of Hutchinson here relatively quick? Can you make quick work of him, or is it going to take a lap or two?
I was actually going to say the battle for the we've seen passing happen before, but battles for the lead at this track have been a little harder, because if you remember the Nitro National race yesterday, that battle went all the way down to the checkers and no passes were made that day for the top spot on the racetrack. So it's a little harder to make happen, but I would not put it past J.D. Martin. He's starting to fall off a little bit from Justin Hutchinson, maybe trying to make a big enough gap to charge back through again. But Martin, I have a feeling he's got a faster car than Hutchinson. He just needs that track position to make it really shine.
And I noticed, too, that one of the previous laps, he went way high on the track down here in 2 and 3, and I'm wondering if he's just trying a different line, because it seems like him and Hutchinson are pretty much running the same groove. And really, if you basically follow the guy in front of you, yeah, you may be able to catch him, but you're not really going to be able to pass him if you're running the same groove he is. So maybe it could also be a little bit of experimentation to see if you can find something on the track that find a better line for him, or it could be that he's just trying to make sure he saves a little bit at the end of the run here to try to get Hutchinson before the pit stop. And he's going to have a nice run off this corner, but again, I don't know if he got loose or what, but he looked like he had to get out of it just a little bit there off of 3. And yeah, it's going to cost him a little bit of time here.
And notice how Martin exited the corner a little lower to take to the dogleg on the front stretch. That's an interesting line we haven't seen many people take, but it is an option if people want to take it. It's just a matter of, will you get the run off the corners that you want if you, say, run the bottom in it as opposed to running a little higher and arcing the corner a little better. But we are now halfway through this race, and Justin Hutchinson has been the dominant force all day long. As we look at the lap car of Jason Parker there, he's about a straightaway ahead of Justin Hutchinson. So I believe the lap traffic will actually be a factor, barring any yellow flags. Unlike what we saw in the Nitro National race yesterday, the lap traffic will be a factor in this one because it's a little longer race than the National race yesterday. So it'll be, the lap traffic will be a factor, and could that be the difference between Hutchinson winning this race or, say, J.D. Martin passing him for the lead here?
I think the bigger factor, yeah, the lap traffic is going to be a factor, but the bigger factor is going to be this pit stop, too. We got to keep in mind, we got a pit stop still to come, and if Martin's crew can get him out ahead of Hutchinson's, I think that could be the difference in who wins or loses this race. That's where I think if Martin is basically where he's at right now, to where, that's all I'm going to reach as far as the peak for now, his pit crew could be able to be the ones that get it done and get him out ahead of Martin, or get him out ahead of Hutchinson, and that could play the difference. I mean, we saw, pit strategies play out last week in Denver, and they could very well play a difference here where we, as you said, we haven't seen a lot of passes for the lead here.
But what we have been seeing is great battles in the midfield. Because right now, Myles Mashburn is trying to hold off Nick Ortiz, Jared Polanski, and to an extent, Jeffrey Finguy. These four are covered under a blanket now, with Emma Carter pretty far behind this group. So they don't have to worry about anybody behind them, and they don't really have to worry about anybody ahead of them either, because Martin and Hutchinson are starting to pull away. But they're getting closer to each other. As you see now, Hutchinson take to the dogleg and go deeper into the corner from the bottom. That's going to be an interesting line to keep an eye on, because now Hutchinson's going to have the weaker run off the corner to Martin. We'll see how this fares.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of interesting, too, that you pointed out the battle back there for third place. I noticed that both Ortiz and Polanski got around Finguy. Finguy was, I believe, ahead of the both of them, and they both got around Finguy, so that was a change for position. So obviously they're battling back there, but I know we're keeping an eye on the up-front battle here, and Martin, again, it just goes to show he's not giving up. Even though we're getting near the end of a run and we'll be making a pit stop before too long, Martin is not giving up on trying to see if he can get Hutchinson on track.
The battle is not over between these two. The gap, now a quarter of a second between Hutchinson and Martin. These two have been the dominant forces all day long, but will the pit stops change that? We could see one of the guys behind these two make a charge of it late, but time will tell once these pit stops happen. So we'll look forward to when the pit stops do happen, because that'll shake up the order, I imagine, in a big way. Because if Mashburn, Ortiz, Polanski, if any of those guys hit pit road before the two leaders, they could get out of these pit stops with the race lead. The undercut is pretty powerful here. It's just a matter of who can pull it off.
What's interesting, too, is you have, at least the manufacturer-wise, you have the Ford and the Chevrolet are battling 1-2. Then you got the Chevrolet in third. You got the Ford in fourth, the Toyota in fifth, and the Ford in sixth. So kind of interesting to not see a Dodge in there, but you know,
Highest running of those. Highest running Dodge is William Brock, who's 6 seconds off the lead in ninth. But we do have one of each manufacturer in the top 10, which we do like to see. But at the front of the field, it's two Chevy Ford battles at the front. Hutchinson and Martin, then Mashburn and Ortiz with the Toyota of Polanski hanging on for good measure. But we enter lap 58 with Hutchinson still in the lead. He will likely he has locked up the point for leading the most laps today. No one can take that away from him now, because he has led over half this race now. But it's not all these laps in the middle that pay out the points, the big points. It's the last lap that pays out the big points. And whoever leads at the end of that lap, well, they'll be the winner of this race, and they'll have the best time here at Phoenix. And you can see up ahead Jason Parker in the 76 about to be lapped by these guys. I imagine the pit stop will happen before they catch the 76, but it's always good to note when the lap traffic plays a factor in these races. But I think you're right. The pit stops will probably be a bigger factor than any lap traffic these guys might come across.
I hate to reiterate this point, but you bringing up the fact that Hutchinson is going to clinch, which he has pretty much clinched the bonus point for leading the most laps, you're going to have to watch. If I was Hutchinson, I'd be a little worried, because it seems like the 3 previous races I've been in the booth, we've seen it. You know, you can lead all these laps, but the lap that matters most is there's one lap that really counts at when all is said and done. And as we see, it looks like we are kicking off pit stops, so we are in the window. It's just a matter of seeing when the leaders actually come.
And none of the top guys have come in. Nick Ortiz was the first of the leaders to pit in the 91. We'll see where he cycles out. But critically, the top 2 have stayed out an extra 2 laps compared to the 91, and so has Myles Mashburn in the 72. It'll be interesting to see what this does to the lead group, but I have a feeling they've got to be coming in soon, because those tires have been on since the very beginning. And yes, they will hit pit road together, and Myles Mashburn and Jeffrey Finguy will join them. So it looks like everybody who did not pit under the previous on the previous few laps, they're all going to come in now, as Yepes gets close to drilling the pit wall there, but no issues getting on the pit road, which is always nice to see. The big question is, where will Nick Ortiz cycle out? There he is in the 91. He is going to probably be in a very good position, as we have a couple cars stalled in the pit, namely Ryan Jackson in the 68, Christian Vargas in the 54, and looks like a few others. But here are the leaders on pit road, and I think...
And that was a little... I don't know if it may have just been the angle we were looking at it, but it looked like... I think it was Doug Fair was coming out of his pit and almost, I think, got Hutchinson. And there you go, Martin. Looks like his crew is going to get it done. They're going to beat Hutchinson off pit road.
And that they will.
Ortiz that I think is going to get the real benefit here.
Yeah, Ortiz is going to be the leader of this race with Polanski now in second. And that just goes to show you the undercut is so powerful here. They pitted about 2 laps before the Hutchinson and Martin duo, and they now occupy the top 2 spots. So Nick Ortiz now leads this race with about 30 laps to go. It's just a matter of time, I think, though, because Nick Ortiz, he's got the fresher tires for longer. I think he's probably in the best position to win this race now. Like you said, you hate to see the dominant driver not win the race, but at least it'll probably come from the same organization, as now Justin Hutchinson gets passed by Ben McDonnell in the 12, who also pitted with Nick Ortiz, and it looks like we've had trouble on the racetrack in turns 3 and 4, and we're going to get our first caution flag at a race on lap 65. That's going to throw a wrench into this race as well.
I guess you could say the good thing is that the yellow did come out at the end of the cycle stops and not in the middle of the green flag stops. So
yes, agreed.
That's kind of the good news there. But yeah, you said it about Ortiz pitting early, and again, that's why strategy. That's why there's really that counts, and it is the last one. And sometimes strategy, you just got to put yourself in a position and then let things play out and see what happens. And in this case right now, Ortiz is the one looking in the best position at this point.
So this is where William Brock was running, and I believe Sam Denoto is going to play a factor in this as well. Oh, Brock makes a deep dive into the corner on Mark Davey, and I don't think Denoto was expecting that, and he just tips the 93 into a spin. I don't really put the blame on anyone there, because Brock was really making a bold move there.
It's unfortunate when you see something like that happen. And unfortunately for Sam, there really isn't anything you can do in that case. You know, somebody makes a move like that, and then you really not much you can do except just try to check up the best you can. And unfortunately, it didn't work out.
So that will drop William Brock and Sam Denoto well down the running order in this one. But they will both remain on the racetrack, and they will both remain on the lead lap. So that at least is a positive for those teams. But now we've got an interesting battle at the front to keep our eye on, because we now have a few lapped cars that will come into play here. Namely, Christian Vargas in the 54, after a slow pit stop, dropped him off the lead lap. Ryan Jackson, likewise in the 68, also went one lap down. KJ Hayes in the 46 actually drops a handful of laps down, 4 to be precise, after an issue plagued them on their pit stop. So we will have 3 cars on the inside line, right alongside the leaders. As the lights now go out on the pace car, we will be going green this next time by, and there you see Christian Vargas pull out a line and make the move up towards the front of the field, Ryan Jackson following him and KJ Hayes following him. So, like I said, 3 cars will be on the inside, and that could make a big help to, say, Ben McDonnell in 4th, who has no one to his inside and could make a dive down to the bottom if he really wanted to.
But honestly, the car I'm going to be looking for in this, we know Ortiz is the leader. He's got the advantage. I'm going to watch this 18. This 18 has been quiet all race long. He's been in the top 10. Obviously, the pit stop is what got him and Ortiz running 1-2 at the moment. But he's got an opportunity here, and maybe we'll see if he can take advantage of it. I know he's going to have a hungry 66 car behind him that wants to try to get back there as well. So we'll see when we restart here on going from 68 to 69. The nice lap, as we say.
With the pace car off, the green flag is back out. We are underway once again at Phoenix Raceway on the nice lap. As now, we have Nick Ortiz pulling away from the rest of the field. Christian Vargas follows into line behind him. And honestly, I think Christian Vargas, if he stays behind the 91, could be his best friend here, because the 54 could hold up everybody behind, and that could allow Nick Ortiz to scoot out into a lead he'll keep for the rest of the race. But I have a feeling Christian Vargas wants his lap back, and in a big hurry as well.
Although I think, honestly, at this point, the way the restart and the way these quicker cars are, I think the high lane may be a quicker lane, and it looks like I thought maybe Polanski was going to get to the outside of Vargas there. Clearly got Ortiz to go clear Vargas, but I think Polanski's going to try to get to the outside of Vargas here, and he's got some little draft help from the 66 behind him. So I think they might be able to get around Vargas here, as he's got the clean air. He's going to try to set sail here.
And like I said, Christian Vargas going to be holding up everybody behind, as now J.D. Martin makes a move to the inside of Polanski. That's the battle for second, but I have a feeling that Christian Vargas is going to be Nick Ortiz's best friend for the rest of this race if the 54 stays behind the 91 for the rest of the day. Because if the 54 stays back there, that's a buffer between Ortiz and the hungry pack behind him, and that could very well make the difference, because we've seen buffer cars make the difference before, especially when second and third are battling side by side the way they are right now.
I know you pointed out when it happened, but I did like that move that Martin made. He started on the high lane. It looked like he was going to try to go on the high side with Polanski, and then he got a hold of the inside. He just shot that inside to try to make the move now around Polanski to get second. But he's got to he doesn't have much longer. We're coming to basically 21 to go, and he's got to try to clear Polanski as quick as he can, because he's going to have uh, Vargas to deal with before he can get to Ortiz.
And we have one on pit road with an issue. That's the 81 of Roberto Crown Jr. He was one of our points contenders going into the day. I believe he entered this race third in the points. This is going to severely hurt him in the points battle, because it'll drop him well out of the top 5 in points now. And he'll fall likely 1 or 2 laps down as a result. But back at the front of the field, we now come to 20 laps to go at the line. Nick Ortiz has about a 6/10 lead over J.D. Martin, and looks like the top 5 have gone single file, but behind them, it's still a beehive back there in the battle for the lesser positions in the top 10.
And the dominant driver of the day, too, that 10 car of Justin Hutchinson, unfortunately, he was back in 6th place right now, and again, it just goes to show you may have a dominant car when you're out front in the clean air, but when you get back in traffic, if that car isn't that good back in traffic, it's very hard to get back up there. And Ortiz right now, his best friend is at 54 behind him, as we've been saying. Martin has cleared Polanski. He's sitting solidly there third. Polanski is fourth. I think that's Ben McDonald. Yeah, last week's winner, Ben McDonald, sitting there fourth. And then you got the 72 of Mashburn, still sitting solidly there in the top 5.
We still have 2 Robbers Racing cars in the top 5, with a Vento Motorsports Chevrolet between them. You're right, Ben McDonald, last week's winner, continuing a string of good momentum, currently in the 4th spot after starting outside the top 15. So McDonald climbing through the field pretty quickly, but we're closing in on 15 to go, and at this point in time, I have a feeling Ortiz has got a very good position right now, because even if Martin closes up on the 54, he still has to pass Vargas, and Vargas is not a slow car. Vargas is on pace with these guys, even if he's a lap down, so this would be a very difficult pass for Martin to make, if he ever gets there.
However, the one thing that could work into Martin's favor, and it's the one thing that Ortiz doesn't want to have happen, Vargas is competitive. If Vargas goes to make the move on Ortiz to try to get his lap back, Martin could use Vargas slowing up Ortiz to try to make the move on Ortiz. So it's a give or take right here for Ortiz. Yeah, Vargas could be his best friend right now as long as he's behind him. But if he gets alongside him, he ain't going to be his best friend for long.
We're closing in on the end of this thing now. 15 laps to go from the Phoenix Raceway, and Nick Ortiz has been out front for a good chunk of the day. Finish Line Motorsports has led all but 5 laps of this race so far. As a matter of fact, Myles Mashburn led the other 5 for Robbers Racing. But it's gonna be an interesting battle, because you're absolutely right. If Vargas gets a little racy with Nick Ortiz, that could allow the 66 in opening to get around both of them, or even just the 91, because he doesn't need to race the 54 very hard. All he needs to do is get past the 91. He can let the 54 sail off into the sunset if he wants to. He just needs to get past Nick Ortiz, and if he can do that, that'll be a very popular win for the Robbers Racing Team. Converting a 1-2 front row lockout into a race victory is certainly what that Robbers Racing Team were at least hoping for.
I tell you what, if I'm 66, if I'm Martin, I would be pressuring that 54 to make the move on the 91, because, again, as we said, that's in my opinion, that is Martin's best shot to win this race, is to basically pressure that 54, and then even if the 54 messes up and you get an opportunity to get around him, then hey, then you don't have Vargas between you and Ortiz, and you can get at Ortiz, but already Martin trying different things, and he lost a lot of ground right there. I don't know if he was trying to run that low line, trying to run the dog leg, but he lost a lot of ground to Ortiz there. It's almost going to fall back into the hands of Polanski there in third.
What he might be trying to do is build up enough of a gap to the 54 to where the aero push is not as big an issue on the 66 to try and chase him back down, because he might have been developing an aero push. We've seen that often this season when you get behind another car in traffic. But Nick Ortiz, he's 10 laps away from his third career win and his first of the season. That would be a very well-needed victory and a very well-earned one, because he was out, he played the strategy right, he did everything he needed to do. Now, it's just a matter of finishing the deal, as we now have 10 laps to go.
Yeah, at this point, they're single file. Looks like they're also single file. There's a couple cars basically 4th, 5th, and 6th back there. And Hutchinson, again, the dominant car of the day, has really not made any progress from where he restarted, which was in the 6th position. And I mentioned him already, but I'm really starting to become a fan of that 12 team. You know, this is the second straight week they started in the back. He's sitting there solidly in the top 5 now at the end of the day. That's a team that seems like they're gaining on their, you know, putting stuff together over the course of the race and putting a full race together to have a decent finish. And that's what matters in the end, is you want to have a decent finish. It's not where you start, it's where you finish.
And remember, last year, Ben McDonnell was 25th in points at the end of the season. He's already doing much better this year than he did all of last year. As we're closing in on the end of this race, McDonnell will pick up his second straight top 5 finish, as now Vargas gets a little high. That allows the 66 underneath.
He went way wide in that corner. I don't know if he just either tried to overdrive it there, or if he knew that, okay, maybe I just need to get out of the way and let the 66 go after him. That was just so weird out of Vargas. He was just riding there fine, and then he just took it way wide down there in turn 2, and turn 3, and it opened the door for Martin. Martin, although unfortunately looks like not able to take advantage of it, but because these 4 cars basically still within a second of each other. Absolutely.
But now J.D. Martin has seen a chink in the armor for Christian Vargas. He knows that the 54 is it has weak points, and now the 66 has got to be thinking, where can I pressure him into making more mistakes, try and get around him, because he's running out of time. We only have 6 laps to go in this race, coming to 5 to go now. So Martin's got to be thinking about making moves, and he might be trying to get to the high side of Vargas, but that could allow Polanski underneath him. We now have 5 laps to go from Phoenix.
Ortiz is sitting there up front, just loving everything he sees in his review mirror. He's like, guys, you keep battling. I'm just going to keep not trying to put a wheel out of place here and try to bring it home. Again, his best friend continues to be that 54 car. We act like Vargas is doing anything. Vargas isn't doing anything wrong here. He's trying to get his lap back as best he can, because you never know what can happen. And at the same time, he's not really in the way. He's got a competitive car. He's not really holding up Martin. It's just Martin can't seem to find a way around him. And wait a minute, I may have spoke too soon.
Here comes Christian Vargas to try and get his lap back, putting Ortiz up to the high side. That could be the opening J.D. Martin needs, as he sends it down the inside here.
Here comes Martin.
Here comes J.D. Martin.
Yeah.
Off of turn 4 to come to, I believe that is 3 laps to go. J.D. Martin now is in a very handy position to take the lead of this race. And here he
Martin.
Underneath Nick Ortiz, with coming to 2 laps to go. The J.D. Martin takes the lead from Nick Ortiz. You've got to feel for the Finish Line Motorsports team. That's twice now they've been thwarted by the 66 car, who's in this one race, who's now only got 2 more miles to try and get his first win of the season.
Right now, Christian Vargas just went from being Ortiz's best friend to J.D. Martin's best friend in basically one lap. That is, if Martin can hang on here, basically he's just got to follow that 54 car. He did what he had to do.
We're coming to the white flag this time, and J.D. Martin is on pace to get his 5th career win and his first of the season. The white flag is out. We've got 1 lap to go in the Circle K 500, and J.D. Martin, after playing second fiddle in this race for so long, he's going to be the big beneficiary of all this. Coming down the back straightaway out of turn 2 for the final time. Like you said, he's just got to follow Christian Vargas home.
He started second, but he's got to do 1 spot better in the finishing order.
Coming through 3 and 4 for the final time, he's going to do it. J.D. Martin wins the Circle K 500 in a dramatic late race move on Nick Ortiz. And you gotta feel for Nick Ortiz. He did everything right in this race. It just wasn't enough, but still, second place is a great building block for that organization. He's going to come home second. Jared Polanski third. Ben McDonnell gets his second straight top 5 and fourth. Myles Mashburn bookends the top 5 for Robbers Racing. He comes on fifth. Justin Hutchinson led the most laps today, but he will have to settle for sixth ahead of his teammate Mark Davey in the 01 to finish seventh. Jeffrey Finguy fell to 8th at the end ahead of Duke Ansack, and Jake Uhalik, after the heartbreak at Denver last week, will round out the top 10. You never know what to expect when it comes to
honestly, the whole pass that Martin set up was set up. Vargas got a great run, that one lap going into. I think they probably built it from. He built it from the start finish line. He got a great run, got into turn 2. Had so much momentum into that corner. He carried it underneath Ortiz, and once he got Ortiz off that bottom groove, Martin just took advantage of it, and he followed the 54 through, and that's all he needed. All he needed was the opening in the window. He was in the right position at the right time, and he took advantage of it.
So that's our last points race for a little while, but join us in 2 weeks' time, and we'll have a real treat for you guys. The 1UP All-Star Race coming at you live from the Lebanon Valley Speedway in West Lebanon, New York. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a track that means so much to me, and I'm sure it's going to mean a lot to you guys when you see the All-Star Race in 2 weeks' time. We'll be coming at you live from there, and we'll have both Ryan Griffin and James Ellison in the booth with myself. That's going to be a lot of fun too.
That'll be fun. Hopefully Ellison will cancel out the curse I tend to put on the dominant drivers in races, because that's now 4 for 4. We've had that happen. So I feel bad for Hutchinson. I feel bad for Ortiz, but man, Martin, he took advantage. Right time, right place. And as we've said, even during the course of this broadcast, that you just have to put yourself in a position. It's one lap matters, and in this case, Martin was out front when it mattered most.
Absolutely. So, from Ryan Griffin and from myself as well, we say goodbye from Phoenix, and we'll see you in a few weeks when we go All-Star Racing. Congrats to JD Martin. He's your winner after a crazy day out in the desert.